Who's working and who's not? Isn't that interesting? Here's the first chart. The first chart we're looking at is the Census Bureau was putting together information, and they put these charts out and put information from time to time, and they have indicated, let's take a look at who's back to work. So on the surface, it looks like our workforce is back to normal. You know, we had a change in the share of work. Take a look at this. That big dip that you can see right there is from COVID. And then we've been steadily getting back to work. We had a big bounce up where they let us all get back to work, and then a steady growth as restaurants open. And right now, we're within 0.3 percentage points of who was working before COVID and who is working now, May, June timeframe. This was stats that were compiled right here in second quarter of 2023. So it's really interesting. And Kai, you take a look at this, but who's working is a whole different story, isn't it?
Yep.
Because it's not the same people working that were working before. So we dove into the data a little bit. And what did we find first?
Yeah, because overarching, the chart looks like it's good, where everyone's back to work, everyone, or 0.3% less of people are back to work, but I'd say in the grand scheme of things, it's pretty interesting. But once we kind of dug deeper in the charts here, we're seeing who really is more back, who wasn't there before, and then who are there now but weren't before on that end. So that's going to be interesting to see as we dive into this, if you want to kind of keep this going.
Exactly. In the first group, let's take a look here at moms. Very telling. So it looks like we're all back to work. Washington, D.C., a president, people are saying, oh, everybody's all back to work again. It's the same as it was. I'm a hero. I got everybody working. Not so fast. Let's take a look at what has happened to our labor force, because there's some big messages that are below the surface here. Start with moms. Take a look at this. 2.5 percentage points more. So in other words, 2 to 3% more moms are working now than were working before COVID. And then you have the line there for dads and non-parents. But why would it be that moms are back to work? What's going on?
Yeah.
When they surveyed them, what was the reason so many moms came back to work?
I mean, obviously inflation is a big part of it. I think that looking at how it's gone, the other interesting part I found too is that less dads are working in terms of like the change there. Obviously, it'd be one thing if it's a two-income parent household, but also where dads have dipped as well is pretty fascinating on that end.
Yeah, but let's stay with the moms. And by the way, they're saying moms. So the government is saying moms. These are females. I'm not going to go into political correctness and, oh, these are birthers and stuff. These are moms in a traditional sense, because that's how the Census Department is reporting them. Then they dive into women in general. Take a look at this. This is a chart looking before and after COVID of women working. And look at what has happened. Here we go. One more. Hello. Looking for a chart here. We need coffee for the control room. Double espressos for everyone. We now have more minority women working now than were before. Like a full percent of African American or black women, as defined by the Census Bureau, are working than before COVID. And they were also talking about inflation and being pushed back to work, which I thought was kind of shocking.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's powerful telling too of seeing that overall everyone, when it comes to women, are down, or everyone is down 0.3%, and then you have all women are up 0.2%, and then obviously the black women in this case up almost 1 percentage point, which is pretty significant in terms of the grand scheme of things. So it's the charts are more revealing than we would have thought on that end.
Yep, absolutely. And you found one more chart, which was even more startling, and I'm going to let you cover this one because you dug it up.
Yeah.
And this is the last chart on this, which I found to be really startling.
Yeah, this is definitely the one with the biggest change on that end. So if they want to pull it up here with the control room, we see that in this chart there's the people with disabilities versus everyone. So everyone is down 0.3%, which is kind of what the first chart showed initially, but with disabilities is up 3.1%. And you can even see that they didn't take as much of a stark drop to begin with as well. So like that has consistently hovered over the previous line, the baseline on that end, which is pretty startling on that end. What do you think this is by?
Well, this is also the people that were surveyed, their number one reason for being back to work, more urgency, and the change in the workforce given was inflation. In other words, it costs more now. Because remember, we're not just talking about 2021, bouncing out of COVID, but we still had a mess. 2022, hey, we're getting amusement parks, restaurants, things are back open, get back to normal. This is a year later after COVID where inflation has gone up, reared its ugly head, led to the Fed raising interest rates more than at any time, practically at any time in U.S. history, and now we're at 30-year high on interest rates. And the inflation that went with that, people are saying it's inflation. So you have people with disabilities that are going back to work, citing inflation. You've got moms going back to work, citing inflation. And you've got more African Americans at work, citing inflation. So what everybody is saying is it's a much different mix of who's working now. And some of the people that were working part-time are now full-time. And they're saying, hey man, COVID's over, but getting back to work now, I gotta work because inflation has come. Now, you look at the price of a gallon of gas, it's come back down. You look at the price of eggs, they've come back down.
Yeah.
But everything else in the basket at the supermarket has stayed up.
Yeah, so even though some of those big levers are what people are concerned about, and especially in terms of the political arena, that's what they're pinpointing to and saying, oh, we're down, like we're back to normal. But the reality is that the far majority of the goods in the basket have gone up, and they have stayed up, which at that point, obviously, it doesn't make anything cheaper, where people that before could rely on less income because they could get past it with the inflation now are having to pick up extra shifts or get back to work more urgently to take care of the cost of the stuff they have going on that end. So it's definitely been a significant change on that end.